Hey guys, this is my 2002 Toyota Tacoma V6 pre-runner with a 3.4 liter. This is a super holographic model with 400,613 miles. I'm making this video and many more to come probably to demonstrate some of the issues I've had during this whole time. This is obviously a very worn truck, but this specific video will go over vibration in many different areas. Some vibrations were heaviest here in center consoles. This is loose, of course. You guys can imagine need to replace that. But the vibrations were very strong, not just this slightly rattling, but you know, very strong. And then some vibrations in my steering wheel, just moving back and forth at high speeds. So let's go on. All right, so one of the many vibrations that I've had over the many months, recently the last 6 months or so, was easy to find actually, was just the exhaust. This one's gonna be pretty easy to figure out. There's plenty more, guys, but this is one I wanted to point out. I felt some vibration inside the truck, and it didn't sound any different, but it turns out that there were some weldings that had broke on my exhaust, which led to more weldings breaking, which was a result of my suspension being worn and pressure being put on the exhaust, causing it to bend and areas ended up breaking. That one's easy to find. So if there's more play than there should be on your exhaust, or if you hear something rattling under your truck and causing your truck to vibrate, that one's easy to find. Check your exhaust. The other one, which I put this off for a long time, my drive shaft. Every time I would switch gears for many months, or go from park to reverse to drive, whatever, back and forth, these two would hit, and I didn't think much about it. I knew eventually this joint would get worn, but these two kept catching. Well, the joint was already broken, and it lasted for, gosh, almost 9 months to a year that way before it finally just completely snapped. So if this gap isn't here, you know, these should be in the shape of a T, you could say, shape of the U joint. If this gap isn't there, that's something you should inspect, and it goes for the rest of the shaft. And if there's too much play in your shaft, mine is solid now, but there used to be a little play, and that caused a lot of vibration. And I didn't realize that's what it was until that finally gave out. But the thing about a drive shaft vibration is you'll feel it throughout the vehicle, but you'll especially feel it up in the center console area, down through the middle, and it'll vibrate the hell out of your center console. Of course, because it's connected to the transmission. Transmission is connected to the gear knob there. And so also, when I got that replaced, I took it to a machine shop, and the guy was able to weld some areas together and put the new U-joint in. And it runs amazing. It solved everything. But I went ahead and put this new one in. The center bearing, if that's worn, which it was cracked. That can lead to some vibrations also. And got all the grease fittings greased, make sure everything was good. That took care of that by vibration. So exhaust, check your exhaust weldings, check your brackets, make sure everything's solid, and definitely check your drive shaft and make sure everything looks like it should. Make sure there's no play. The next vibration was more so in the steering wheel, which made me think it was a steering column, steering some brackets or something. But before I checked any of that, I went ahead and got under the truck, and turns out, I should probably done this while I was in the back, my tie rod was bad. Go ahead and grab it. So that's the tie rod. As you can see, it's the outer tie rod, runs in the inner. Those should have zero play in them. Zero play. my passenger one had a lot of play in it. That was part of the vibrations I was having, but those were more in the steering wheel and the whole truck itself. Especially coming around curves at high speeds, going down the interstate and turning left, turning right. Really felt it. But before I checked the tie rod, I checked everything, and of course the suspension is really worn out on this truck, but more than it being worn out, what's more important is that nothing is broken or loose or free. It needs to be replaced or retightened. So you know, you're gonna have worn suspension. I know it takes time, it's a lot of money to replace them, especially if you're not doing them yourself. But most importantly, make sure things aren't completely loose like that, because when they're free and have that much play, there's some serious damage to them, and it could lead to a bad wreck, could lead to more damage in other areas, you know. So I replaced that tie rod. I was able to do it myself. I ordered them brand new online, the tire kit, driver side, passenger side, inner and outer tie rod. And it's easier just to replace both, unless you're just, you know, on a tight budget. I wouldn't replace inner and outer. There's plenty of videos online to do that. So that was one of the vibration issues. The other one ended up being my tires, and I'll show you that. So I got brand new tires about 9 months ago from Discount Tire, and they work great. They weren't the most expensive ones, but nothing wrong with that. So everybody checks tires differently, but what I typically do is just run my hand up and down them. And sometimes there can be an angle on your tire, depending on what's wrong with your truck and where the weight is going, what suspension parts are going bad. But as long as you can run your hand, and your hand should stay parallel to the ground beneath. And if you feel any knots or anything that is, you know, feels like it shouldn't be there, that can be the culprit. So for me, that's what it was. We got the front tires moved to the back, because the front tires, these were on the front for the last 9 months, had a whole lot of rivets in them. It was bump, 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 just all the way across both sides. And it turned out to be, my front suspension is so worn that there's excessive weight being pushed down on the tires to make up for the worn suspension. So it causes the tires to be essentially just put under too much pressure, which causes them to be worn really weirdly and create all this rivets. So we got them moved to the back, and eventually here soon I'll be replacing the front suspension. But the back tires moved to the front, but that took care of all those vibration issues. That was probably the worst one, was the tires. As you can imagine, the back vibrates some, but most of your bad vibrations come from the front of the vehicle, especially those in the steering column. So those were the three things. The other things we need to look for is the back suspension, front suspension, just any parts that might be loose, might be free. Of course, if it's worn, needs to be replaced. I checked my steering column when I was down there. All the brackets, everything was still intact. Everything seemed to be good. I'm definitely going to be replacing everything here soon, all the ball joints and tire suspension. I already got the tie rods done. The sway bar, everything's going to be replaced here soon. It'll drive like new, hopefully. But those were my vibration issues. If you guys have any questions, I'll probably make more of these videos depending on the responses I get to just help everyone out. You know, it's got 400,000 miles on it, so I've dealt with just about everything. So hope this helps you guys solve your issues, and let me know if you have any comments or questions. Thanks. And actually, I almost forgot one more. I do a lot of work on my own truck, so I'm constantly taking the wheels on and off. And one thing that was causing some vibrating, really small amounts, was my lug nuts. So whenever you do your own work on your tires, your wheels and your lug nuts come off, obviously unless you have power tool to tighten them on well enough. You tighten them on with your tools, drive for a while, tighten them again, because they do tend to come loose unless you just have them on really snug. So make sure to take a look at that.